So we're back with the Toyota Crown. This is not the Signia that I reviewed last week. Obviously it's not a wagon. This is kind of that fastback looking sedan that preceded the Signia here in the United States when Toyota decided to return the Crown nameplate after about 50 years of its absence. Of course, the Crown nameplate continued on in Japan, and it is a huge brand there. Almost like, well, it has, I would say, more brand recognition than even Lexus over in Japan, the Crown nameplate. But there are some updates for the 2025 model year. Full disclosure, this is a 24. Yes, I have a 24 for press reviewed for this week, but it's 99.999% the same for 2025. However, we get some new updates for 2025. First of all, there's a new trim level. Previously, there was XLE, Limited, and Platinum, which we have a Platinum here. And we'll talk about the updates for the Platinum here in a little bit. But it started actually with the addition for 2025 is the Nightshade. Nightshade actually gets these massive 21-inch wheels, but they're kind of like matte black finished. 21s you can also get in the limited grade. So that Nightshade is based off the limited grade. It costs nearly $3 grand more than the limited, but it gets standard 21-inch wheels. So the limited, I believe, has the standard 19-inch wheels. So not a good buy for the Nightshade because you only have a black interior and you only have two paint colors, kind of a dark gray and a black. So yes, you get, like, you know, the blacked out door handles, window surrounds, garnishes, but not worth it in my opinion. Now, let's talk about the updates for the Crown Platinum, the top of the grade, which charges right into the Lexus ES in terms of power and pricing and features. So for 2025, the Crown added some cool stuff for the Platinum grade. The two things they added, I guess you could say, on the outside of the vehicle, they actually added rear wheel steering for the Hybrid Max here on the Platinum. It's the only way you can get this 340 horsepower turbocharged hybrid setup. But they added rear wheel steering, and we see rear wheel steering in the Lexus RX 500h F Sport Performance, for example. So that's pretty cool. They also added for 2025 a power trunk, and I always forget how to open this Crown trunk. You know, this is like the rear wiper or cleanser for the rear camera. So I'm just gonna press the button here, and this is the update. So in 2024s, you just have like a traditional hood, but for 2025, it's more of a Lexusified auto hood or auto trunklet, I should say, where you press the button and it'll open and close automatically. You still have the seats that fold down half, or should I say 60/40. Huge trunk. I wouldn't say I'd say it's competitive with the Camry, and I'm almost positive you are not going to have, oh, you do have a spare tire. I ate my words right there. So well done, Toyota, including a spare tire. I'm pretty sure the Crown Signia that I just reviewed, even on the base trim, did not have a spare tire, but I'll fact check myself if I need to. So those are two of the updates. The rest of the updates, I believe, are on the inside for the 2025 model year Crown. All right, head-up display. It was never an option before. It is now standard on the 2025 Platinum. Also standard is this. Well, it's not here. This is the standard manual tilt and telescopic, but for 2025, they added what you typically see standard on Lexus models, which is the power tilt and telescopic wheel that is mated to, or should I say, linked to your memory settings there on the door. There's one more update for the Crown in 2025, and it may have happened the previous model year, but on the base XLE grade, it's standard leather now, where in the past they had the cloth interior, which I'm a sucker for cloth, even in high-end vehicles, because it's just, it breathes really well, it's super durable. But let's get on with the standard review here. The rest of the reviews is going to be a normal review. We're going to drive it. You can see these little Easter eggs here, Toyota Crown. Too bad we don't have the Toyota Crown badge, but the rest of this vehicle, or the video today, is going to be a standard review of the Toyota Crown. Now stay tuned. Later this week, I'll update you guys with my fuel economy test. This is rated with this Hybrid Max turbo powertrain. It's rated at about 30 miles per gallon, whereas the limited models with the standard Toyota hybrid powertrain with a 2.5 liter non-turbo engine, that's rated around 41 miles per gallon with the smaller wheels. All right, so standard all-wheel drive here. Where this is going to shine is in power and acceleration over the standard hybrid. It loses fuel economy about 10 miles per gallon, but it gains tons of power. We see this powertrain in the RX F Sport Performance. We see this powertrain in The Lexus TX 500H, we also see it in the Grand Highlander Hybrid Max. So 340 horsepower, 400 pound-feet of torque, that's on 87 fuel. If you put premium in here, 91, you probably will get closer to the 366 horsepower that we see on the Lexus TX, or at least how that's rated. We have a big electric motor in the rear to power the rear wheels, much bigger than the standard hybrid. And I did mention standard all-wheel drive throughout the lineup, but the rear motor here is more powerful, more torquey, around 80 horsepower, a little bit less, and over 120 pound-feet of torque just from the rear motor. Like I said, total 340 plus horsepower and 400 pound-feet of torque, potentially more if you put better fuel in here. I don't like this two-tone power paint job. My Toyota, I mean, I've spoke to many Toyota people out there, whether they're fans or they work in the dealer industry. The two-tone here is just hard to stomach. It's exclusive. The two-tone is exclusive on the platinum grade, and it just doesn't look good. All right, Toyota needs to get rid of it. But I do love this bronze oxide paint color. I'm a big fan of bronze. 21-inch wheels that are exclusive to this grade. I already mentioned that. Now, smart key access, it is standard on front and rear doors. I already went over the trunk, but I mean, that two-tone comes all the way back to the rear, and it's best if it's in the shadows, because you guys would not be enjoying it if it was in the full-on light. So yeah, no visible exhaust tips. You do have parking sensors here, which I believe you get on the limited grade, and you're going to get that on the new Nightshade. So we have heated rear seats, a JBL sound system, which comes standard on the limited. If you get the XLE, it'll only have a 6-speaker system, standard rear vents, and USB-Cs in the back, map pockets on each side. What is headroom like? Well, it's okay. All right. I have a bubble here, and I do have some LED lights over here. Interestingly, you see little microphones, so you can trigger the system here from the rear passengers, and it'll hear you quite well. Handles over each door, and it's comfortable back here, I would say. If you're much taller, though, maybe you won't be as comfortable. Okay, a little flip-up cup holder situation, pretty shallow cup holders, but they are felt lined, so you see that quality there. And this middle seat has a good hump to it, which is good for little kids. It's kind of like a built-in booster seat, so I do appreciate that, because I will be driving my kids everywhere in this vehicle this week. All right, so opening the door here, getting into the front seat, and I'm gonna go ahead and move this into the shade a bit, because the shadows can be a bit harsh, especially this time of year in fall, and it's Florida, it's always sunny. Well, not always, but this time of the year it pretty much is always sunny. All right, let's talk about this interior. Well, this jumps out at me. This is optional on the limited. It comes in the optional package on the limited, this eyeball sensor, and it's standard here in the platinum. I absolutely despise this in Toyota and Lexus models. So you have to go through the settings here to turn off the annoyingness of it. So you go to vehicle settings and you hold this down with the OK button. I turn off brake suggestion, I turn off traffic jam assist, I turn off the recording. I also, here we go, front cross traffic alert, I turn that off because that is super annoying. I always know when cars and bicyclists, maybe if you can't see bicyclists, maybe you like that front cross traffic alert, but if you can't see bicyclists, maybe you shouldn't be driving. Anyways, let's get back into the review here. So I can totally live without this. Just get the standard limited model if you can live without the traffic jam assist and the eyeball nannying, because if you look away for a second to appreciate the beauty where you're at, it'll chime at you and say, hey, you know, look at the road. So I'm not about that nanny system. So I forgot to mention the transmission here. This is different than the normal hybrid, and so I bring that up because I'm looking at the paddle shifters. It has a 6-speed automatic that controls the front wheels. The rear motor just has a single 1-speed transmission, I guess you could say. And we have a more of a traditional enthusiast focused 6-speed auto here, which is quite fun to drive with. All right, leather wrapped steering wheel. We do have a heated steering wheel, heated seats, ventilated seats. I believe those 3 things are standard on all the grades, just like these 2 12-inch screens are. Volume knob here, wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto. 360 camera is standard on this model, and I believe you can get it as an option on the limited model as well. All right, you also have this proactive parking assist. I'd never use it in Toyota Lexus models. I'd rather park my $55,000 vehicle myself. Thank you very much. Standard climate control with the buttons and the switches. It's fantastic. I love it. It's very streamlined, it looks good, and it's functional. Standard wireless charger throughout the lineup, a couple USB-Cs up front. We'll do a 0 to 60 here in a little bit, so I got that in here. Auto brake hold, of course. This has a bunch of drive modes, so another benefit here for this model, only this model can come with the adaptive variable suspension, so it can stiffen up or it can soften up depending on the mode you're in, and you can also customize it. So you have 5 modes. Comfort mode is probably what I'm gonna be riding in most of the time because these 21s are awfully firm. All right, this opens up the same as the Crown Signia, felt lined all the way throughout, little USB-A in here to connect your phone through wired Android Auto if you need to. A little 12 volt in there. It's felt lined on the sides, the bottoms, and the tray. We also have this pano roof right here. Let's go ahead and open it. You see the sun coming in. Real small front roof here and a large rear roof for the rear passengers. Now, as I'm looking in here, you guys see a lot of black. Even though we have some nice piping here, some good stitching, it is black, black, black with some gold accents. That's not acceptable. And not that this black interior is, no, there's nothing wrong with it. What's not acceptable is that it's only black on this Platinum and it's only black on the Nightshade. It's only black, I believe, on the XLE. You have no other interior color options. However, if you get the Limited, you have 2 more interior color options, a black and a brown. So the brown will really accent the dash and the doors here, but the seats will remain black. And then you have, I believe it's called Macadamia, which is a nice like cream and black accented interior. I can't believe that is not available here on the Platinum. And unless you need this powertrain, I would say, and a head-up display for 2025 anyways, I would say skip the Platinum. Because you'll get better fuel economy and you get more interior color options on the Limited. The Limited's typically been my recommendation for the Crown, and I think I'm going to stick with that. But I still have to drive it this week and see how much I really enjoy this powertrain. This vehicle just got dropped off today. So what we're going to do is we're going to start driving the Crown sedan here in North America and in other markets. It's called the Crown Crossover, but it doesn't have a hatchback as a trunk. So anyways, let's go ahead and start driving this vehicle. Now I just noticed as the cop pulls up behind me that I don't have digital rearview mirror in here, which is kind of surprising. It's in the Camry, right? It's in the RAV4. So I don't know why that's not a feature here, digital rearview mirror. I also drove the Accord Hybrid this week. I feel comfortable in here like I did in the Accord. The Accord felt bigger though. I felt like I had more room. Now that vehicle is really designed for the North American market. This is designed to be a global product, so it can't be too big, too wide. So I guess Toyota is doing what they think they need to do here to have, well, a compliant vehicle for many, many markets. Or like I said, the Accord. I've not seen that. Is that the electric Silverado? I have not seen one in person. So I'm gonna do a U-turn. What's the, oh, the turning radius is not good, but it was enough to not scrape these 21s on the curb, so I appreciate that. There's a beautiful yellow Nissan Z there. We're seeing some cool stuff already. So, oh, we're gonna do a 0 to 60 next. Oh, I'm getting to the brakes hard. Strangely, the brakes are better here than they were in the Crown Signia. I would expect the brakes to feel about the same from Crown to Crown model, but that's not the case. And maybe it has something to do with this is a totally different powertrain. So maybe the regen brakes here are a little bit better or stronger. But the brake feel is a harder brake feel, and I get a little bit more response out of it. I'm not saying they're the like performance brakes, but I much prefer the brakes here than I did in the Crown Signia. The Crown Signia just felt sloppy and too much travel, and the brake pedal just kept going down, and I wasn't getting much more feedback. All right, we're going to do 0 to 60 here, torque brake. Okay, baby. Holy cow, I think I got to 60 there. 5.89 to 60. I'm 99% sure this has regular fuel in here. and we saw maybe a 2 second or 2.2 second difference. You know, Toyota claims 5.7 0 to 60. We got essentially a 5.9 0 to 60 on regular fuel. This thing's torquey. You heard it chirp the front wheels there. Very impressive with the acceleration and the torquiness. Now, it could have launched a lot harder, and if it launched harder, or the software allowed it to launch harder, then we could probably get a better 0 to 60 out of it, but it's not really a performance sedan. This is like a muscle / luxury sedan. It's a modern luxury sedan, V6. It just, you know, the V6, if it was in here, it'd have a similar 0 to 60, but you're probably not going to get quite as good fuel economy. But it would be lighter, so it would be more fun to throw around. So there are pros and cons to hybridizing things, right? More complexity, but you get better acceleration and better fuel economy typically. But man, a V6 would have been nice in here. If you need a V6, just go get the Lexus ES while you still can. Oh, is that that's a Copper Crest Lexus RX. We're seeing some really cool stuff here today, or at least cool for me. I don't know about you. Electric EV pickup trucks from Silverado, and then Z's and Copper Crest. Okay, that truck almost didn't see me. Maybe it's because of the two-tone paint color here that I just kind of blend into the background. That's a possibility. All right. So I got comfort up. You guys can see I'm, going about 47 miles per gallon here, or miles per hour here. I'm getting over 30 miles per gallon. And I do suspect that this week I will be able to get over the EPA estimates of 30-ish miles per gallon. I think I'll be able to get in the low 30s. But I mean, it's still warm here. Well, I have to run the AC no matter what. This big glass roof and the black of this two-tone vehicle is going to make this hotter here in South Florida. So that's not going to help us, our fuel economy especially, because I'm going to have to crank the AC more and tax the system a little bit harder in that regard. All right, ventilated seats. I have some good coolness coming on my legs and my butt, so I appreciate that. I kind of have a jacket on. I don't know why I wore a jacket. It was actually chilly this morning, and now it's, well, things heat up quick in Florida, so this jacket's not doing me any favors, but I can kind of feel the ventilated seats through it if I really focus on it. In terms of smoothness, quietness, this is better than the Crown Signia. Again, into the brakes here. Just a little bit better brake feel than the Crown Signia again. But the smoothness here and the powertrain is definitely noticeable compared to the Crown Signia. Is it as smooth as the Accord hybrid I was just in? No, that is different. It's more of a serial hybrid, and this is more of a parallel series hybrid. So it's just, there's massive differences between Toyota and Honda's hybrid technology. But I will say this is smoother than Toyota's 4th gen 2.5 liter hybrid that we see in the Crown Limited and the Crown Signia models, for example. And pedal down. Downshifts quickly with this 6-speed auto. Heck yeah, super responsive, far more responsive than Honda's hybrids, even though we have a traditional 6-speed automatic in here. Instant power, instant torque, I would say, from the electric motors. So we have an electric motor in the back. I mentioned that already, which is nice, but we also have around an 80 horsepower electric motor in the front that also can provide a lot of torque, more torque than the motor in the rear, and we found that out by chirping the front tires. Now, the turbocharged engine is not quite as potent in here as you would see, in like the NX 350 or the RX 350. That has 275 horsepower. I believe this has around 266 horsepower just from the gasoline engine, but the gasoline engine is never working by itself. It's always using the electric motors in here. Even the rear motor. The rear motor cannot detach for efficiency. It's always on. And so that drags down fuel economy because there's no disconnect for that rear motor. So it has to power that rear motor. You're always going to see lines going to that rear motor in here, and that also drags down fuel economy. So let's maybe go this way. I will say it's not as quiet as the Accord hybrid. It's not as quiet as a Lexus ES. it's not as quiet as the Crown Signia. Now the powertrain's more refined here, but what's going on is that I was surprised when I rolled down the window that it's a single pane glass. Not surprised when I hear the wind coming in through it. It's like, for some reason, there's more wind coming in through this window than you have on the more expensive Camry models. Like the XLE and the XSE Camry has dual pane glass. This Crown does not even offer it. So it's just a really strange decision to have it standard on the Crown Signia and not even here on any grade on the standard Crown. And at like 40 plus miles an hour, you hear the wind in the A-pillar region, and that's not good enough for this expensive of a vehicle. I mean, I have been in, you know, $100,000 Range Rovers that also have that similar problem. It's not acceptable there, and it's not acceptable here at in a vehicle that costs half as much. Especially when a cheaper Camry does a better job at blocking out the wind noise around the front driver's window. So that might differ from model, like individual model to individual model, but for this model, it just, I have that wind buffeting. That's the biggest complaint I'm gonna have about this car, is just the unacceptable, annoying. It's not loud, but you hear it, and I shouldn't be hearing it. It's just that annoying, like, whistling wind noise that you get. Well, I just heard it right there, and I'm going 36 miles per hour, and it's not even that windy out right now. So it's not going to come up on camera to you guys, but just know that, I mean, if you have the radio playing, it's not going to bother you. So we're going to take it on the highway here to see if it's going to get worse at freeway speed. So let's go ahead and cut to that. I will say that I have less vibration in this vehicle also compared to the Crown Signia. I had more vibrations coming through the floor there, through the pedals, through the steering wheel. I have just the slightest amount of vibes coming through the steering wheel here, but it's a more insulated product. Other than the wind buffeting I talked about, compared to the Crown Signia, it's a more solid feeling vehicle from top to bottom, other than the wind buffeting we have around the window here for the front driver. But yeah, feels really good in here. Feels very Lexus-like in terms of the solidity, the build quality, and the lack of vibrations coming through the cabin. It's just really, really, really smooth here. And I think this powertrain does help with that. Like, this engine doesn't seem to have to work nearly as hard as the 2.5 liter naturally aspirated hybrids. And you're just kind of, when you're cruising, you are cruising and coasting, and it feels like you're on a boat on a lake that has a glassy surface. Like, you're just softly putting around in here. It feels very smooth, luxurious, and quality. Handling's quite good there. It didn't feel as heavy as I was expecting it to. So in terms of handling, it feels very similar to the Crown Signia. Pretty sticky grip here from these 21s. And just like getting up to speed here on the freeway, I'm maybe half throttle, and like there's 70. It's just effortless acceleration, almost like a full-on electric car. Okay, it's only when you get into the pedal like all the way do you really start feeling that this is a traditional car, because so we pedal down, it downshifts, and my gosh, and it pulls hard. I mean, there you go, there's triple digits. All right, this thing has lots of power, lots of enthusiasm. Like, it's a hybrid that's actually kind of fun to drive. It's engaging, so you can play the fuel economy game if you want, and I will be the rest of this week to get the best fuel economy results out of it. But it's definitely there for enthusiasts as well. Just downshift and go. I also have the paddle shifters here, which that shift down to fourth was a little rough. But let's see if it'll let me shift. Yeah, fifth to fourth is kind of rough. There's third, and it doesn't really go that hard when you're already up to speed there. But man, I do like this powertrain. I just wish it got better fuel economy. And if Toyota could somehow put in a bigger battery pack, this has somewhere around 1 kilowatt hour of the nickel metal hydride. I wonder how it would perform with a lithium ion battery, but it's got the bipolar nickel metal hydride. That's also the same battery that you see on the Crown Signia and the normal Crown Limited here with a 2.5 liter. But I wish it had plug-in hybrid functionality here, because the electric motors here are so powerful, but they're only powerful for real short amounts of time, because this battery is just not able to juice them up as much as that they're rated for. Okay, if this had a plug-in hybrid battery to it, yes, this thing would be super heavy, and maybe in terms of handling it'd be less fun to drive, but it would be more engaging from a fuel economy standpoint, or as you could say an efficiency standpoint. And it would have, I mean, at that point, if you have a battery to supply these electric motors to the full capacity, we're probably talking about 450 horsepower potentially. All right, I'll fact check myself with the math, but that would be unbelievable, and it would rival in some ways the plug-in hybrid powertrain that we see on the Volvo XC90, the rest in peace, the S60 sedan. This truck is super loud passing me here. That's where I want the dual pane. The wind buffeting, here's the thing. It's about the same loudness from 45 miles per hour all the way up to freeway speeds here going 70, 80, 90. So the wind, it's just weird that, and in fact, it might actually be less here than it is in town. I still have it, but it's not annoying me as much. Maybe it's because the ambient noise around me, through the tires, through the rest of the cabin's a little bit louder, so I don't notice the A-pillar noise, wind noise as much. But yeah, it's still there, and now that I'm focusing on it, it's gonna annoy me. But going 70 miles an hour, you see, I'm getting 30 miles per gallon. So on the highway, it's gonna be pretty much just as efficient as it is in town, which typically, I mean, Toyotas, you tend to see the opposite. You tend to see a little bit better fuel economy in town, but compared to like Honda's hybrids that really struggle on the highway compared to their city numbers, Toyotas are a little bit more well-rounded, and they can do a little bit better on the highway. But this hybrid system is completely different than the one I'm talking about in the Crown Signia, so it's hard to, I mean, it's like apples to oranges. But I am seeing over 30 miles per gallon here, going over 70 miles per hour here on the freeway. No road noise is very minimal here, even though this part of the road is loud. I'm not getting a lot through these 21s, which is kind of surprising to me. Typically, I do have more road noise here, but Toyota's did a good job filtering that out in city speeds and at highway speeds. All right, just put up on some Dre and Snoop on the JBL. Maxed out the volume, it sounds pretty good. The bass hits pretty hard, the highs are okay, mids are okay, and unlike the Camry's JBL, you don't get any sort of rattling going on, and that system just frustrates me. It's because like the base Camry LE has a good sound system, and it's only got like 6 speakers. I'm assuming it's going to be pretty good even in the base Crown as well. But this JBL, it's pretty good. It's better than the Camry's JBL. No excessive rattling, no excessive like distortions or blowing out the bass or anything like that. It sounds pretty good. All right, let's go ahead and finish up this review as I noticed something accelerating onto the freeway there. And I've had this issue with other Toyotas with this exact powertrain with the 6-speed auto. It's like, sometimes it's buttery smooth, sometimes it's just like it shifts rough. I don't know if it's because it's a new system for Toyota. I don't know if, because here's the thing, I've been in RXs where it's been rough like this. I'm not saying it's completely rough, it's just you notice a little like shuddering when it's upshifting or downshifting. But I've also been in some other Toyota Lexus models that have the exact same powertrain where I didn't notice any of the harshness or like the roughness between shifts. So this model, I mean, it's got a few thousand on it, Let's see here. It's got 5,500 miles on it, and I don't think it doesn't matter how many miles it has, because I've experienced a brand new, like really like less than 500 miles with this same 6-speed auto be rough at times too. But I've also experienced it where it's never rough and it's super polished and refined and there's no sort of weirdness going on with it. I would say 80 to 90% of the time it shifts smoothly in this particular sample. And then every once in a while you're reminded, like, hey, it's not shifting as smoothly as it should up or down. So it's just kind of there. Again, your mileage will vary depending on the model that you're going to have yourself. There's a police officer in my blind spot here, so I'm not going to go any faster than 77 with the speed limit, I believe. What is 70, right? Because we have traffic sign recognition here, which I believe is standard. So anyways, I'm going to end it there. Don't want to get in anyone's bounce side today. The Crown, let's finish the Crown review here. It's a really, really good vehicle. This powertrain is good. It should be better. The acceleration I'm fine with, but the smoothness should be a little bit better. It is more engaging than any other Toyota hybrid powertrain other than their plug-in hybrids, I would say. And stay tuned for my fuel economy test. I don't recommend this Crown Platinum. It's just too expensive, and I should be not having the A-pillar wind issues here. I'm going to beat that dead horse as far into the grave as I can. You know, I don't think it's too much to ask for dual pane glass here across the lineup. I mean, the Crown Signia has its standard, and it's just kind of left out here. I would rather have that than a head-up display for 2025, which they added, or a power steering wheel. I could care less about that. It's just like, you know, this is an issue that shouldn't happen for such an expensive and premium nameplate with the wind buffeting. But get the Crown Limited. That's my recommendation. Spend in the mid 40s for this vehicle. Once you get into the mid 50s, I'd rather have a Lexus. I'd rather have an ES with a V6. As cool as this, you know, powerful powertrain is, I'm just not seeing enough fuel economy benefits. I'm not seeing enough smoothness benefits here overall for me to pick it over something like an ES with a V6. Its big benefit here is its impressive all-wheel drive system, but that's not enough to sway me to spend about 55 grand here over a Lexus ES. Spend in the mid 40s for the Crown Limited or even the Crown XLE. I think that's a good buy too. But then you also start running into how many features you can get in the Camry nowadays, and the Camry is a very impressive vehicle with incredible fuel economy, especially with the 16-inch wheels on the LE model. So I'm going to shut it down there. Thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you guys in my fuel economy test here on the Crown Platinum. Peace out.